Hello and welcome to a commentated game of Infinity and 4. This is a practice game for the Human Edge Team Tournament, which is being run as part of the Remote Access League. So if you are a viewer and you are a participant in the Remote Access League and you have not yet played against the team International Men of Mystery, please don't watch the video because this is one of the players from that team. I'm actually captaining that team, and this is a practice game between one of our players and one of the just a volunteer who's jumped on for a game, and very much thanks to him. But yeah, so you will see all of the list and how it's meant to be played on a scenario that's about to be played. If you're watching this, the game itself probably will happen in I don't know, a week or so. So yeah, big chance to like kind of gather some intel and stuff, so we'll just take it as a kindness if you're in Human Edge to just pause the video now and come back in a month. But yeah, so Human Edge is being run, as always, by the Remote Access League. It is a five-person aside team event. I imagine that there will be future seasons that are running. It's in progress right now. It's been running for 2 weeks. We're entering the third. In Human Edge, there are a set of maps, and each round a random set of 5 scenarios is drawn, and then the captains deploy their players to those scenarios. So for example, in a coming round we have this map, Supremacy, being played, but we will also have the Armory and I think maybe Panic Room, Annihilation, etc. And there's a map associated with each of those. So as captain of my team, for example, I've deployed Ryan over here, who is player on the left in this particular game, onto this table, and you'll probably see why I've chosen that as the game progresses. In this case, he's playing against a military orders player, and the game is sort of underway. So our players we have on the left, Ryan playing as Vanilla Aleph, and on the right we have Trent playing as military orders. It's the scenario Supremacy, and Ryan has won the roll with a crit on a 15, opposing Trent's 13. And Ryan has elected deployment, and Trent has not been willing to hard deploy a defense with no information. So Trent is going first. And so his deployment from left to right, we can already see some models in motion. In fact, we can see Mendoza in motion here. So Mendoza, one of the new military order troopers, with mimetism -6, some really good CC stats for deployment. Very good, just sort of his proper heavy infantry, Panoshianian, BS-14, etc. But the mimetism is the big one, and for deployment. So Mendoza is sort of already moving. Meanwhile, over here we have a pretty solid fire team. This is a Crozier fire team that contains MSV-2 Spitfire, a Blackfriar heavy rocket launcher with 6 cents MSV-2, a couple of Croziers, 1 paramedic, and then 2 with Combi, Blitzen, and EM mines. However, to note, the combat group that the Croziers are part of is generating the list is generating 2 lieutenant orders, which means that one of these troopers is almost certainly going to be a Knight Commander. There's a Mulebot back here, and if I just have a quick look at the list, I think it's just an order-generating Mulebot. Yeah, it is. It's only 8 points. Over here, we have an Oxbot and belonging to an Escort Sergeant Hacker, one of my favorite new profiles from military orders. I really like them. I don't know if they carry military orders by themselves. I don't know if they synergize well with military orders, but I love how this unit works. There's a Trauma Doc back here with a Palbot hanging around over here. 3 Knights of the Holy Sepulchre, obviously using their one Knight using a Tolo projector. Fusilier Angus HVT back here. Another Hacker Sergeant, so Escort Sergeant Hacker with Oxbot, and then the reserve drop has been a Peacemaker with Spitfire and an Oxbot. So, solid list, 2 combat groups. The second combat group is only generating 3 regular orders and contains the Sepulchre Knight, the Trauma Doc, and one of the Escort Sergeants. He hasn't mentioned which, I'm not sure. And then the first combat group sort of contains everything else. But the Sepulchre Knight is an NCO, so really this is kind of like a 5-order pool. So it's 9 and 5. Opposing that, we've got Ryan's Aleph over here. A couple of net rods. One is there. A Myrmidian prone over here. A Flash Pulse bot. A prone Shukra. A Yudbot back here. And if we just look into... So this is one of the reasons why I have deployed Ryan on this table, because this is a forest. -3 visibility mod, saturation zone, -1 burst. And a Marut has reserve dropped into this forest. So there's this Yudbot behind it. A Probot, just an 8-point auto generator. A War Correspondent. a Zion rebot, total reaction bot. Now, of course, it's a climbing plus remote, so being able to deploy it up on this building, it can easily get down or up onto the roof if it needs. And next to it is a reserve dropped post-human engineer. Of course, this being Aleph, the Marut has reserve dropped alongside multiple post-humans. There's a Dakini HMG back here, another flash pulse remote, another Myrmidian, another Netrod. This is the forward observer submachine gun proxy. And then around here we have a Mimetism 0 camouflage marker, Mimetism 3 camouflage marker, and going down alongside the reserves, a post-human proxy Mimetism -6. So, already in progress, we can see this gunfight moving forward, and Mendoza has moved up to engage the proxy. Now, it looks like the proxy is in cover behind this this Kyoko wall, but Mendoza Mimetism -6, and it's in a forest, which will stack with that. So Mimetism, functional Mimetism -9, and it looks like we've got. Let's have a look. Yeah, so the saturation zone is at play here. So Mendoza is firing shots in, and he's been stunned. So the post-human is held. They're doing some math right now. The post-human is looking for a 6 to hit, I want to say, with its flash pulse. Just a bit of discussion between the players.
Yeah, that's -9 overall, and I'm with 15. So yeah, looking for 6s. Yeah, so the 4 was good. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and they've confirmed. Yeah, the math on that roll was correct. So this is I'm interested to see how Mendoza performs, but this is already a bit of a case study in why post-humans are really good. Cheeky Flash Pulse has dropped Mendoza. Now he'll be fine, obviously. He could even be healed if a paramedic or if a doctor was going to willing to run the Palbot all the way over, but that won't happen. So this is an interesting start to the game. Now, if Mendoza had succeeded and won this face-to-face roll, and to be frank, it's actually interesting. It's hard to say whether or not how favoured Mendoza was here, because to be perfectly honest, 2 dice 11s, which is what he was on because of the visibility zone, 2 dice 11s versus 1 dice a 6. The most likely outcome there is just lots of inconclusive nothing. Now that said, you would generally expect him to get a shot through eventually, and having gotten a shot through, a damage 14 shock round has an okay chance of dealing with an armor 3 post-human in cover. But ultimately, this fight could almost go on forever. Now, as it is, decisive action has occurred, and Mendoza is stunned. Mendoza is not forbidden from doing anything, but there's not going to be any more attacks, and there will be -3 to any other rolls. So I think if Mendoza had survived here, we'd have seen him come along. If once he killed the post-human, we'd probably have seen him come along here, put this Netrod down, and at that point, that's probably as far as he goes, because if he comes around this corner here, he's going to come into. This is a very bad fight for him, trying to engage the Marut. He could try and run up here. Once the Netrod was dead, to engage the Myrmidian, that would be an option. And sort of again at that point, like you're moving further, you start engaging the Marut. So this is a very good outcome for Ryan. It's also a pretty good outcome because it's cost orders for Mendoza to get into the forest. So yeah, there's some conversation now. You might be able to hear bits of it, probably not a lot. I have the player's volume quite low because there is a sleepover happening at one of the houses, and so we can hear children in the background. But yeah, Mendoza can't go into suppressive fire. He can hold his position because he's religious. And the post-human proxy, honestly, is not going to have a great time trying to fight Mendoza, because Mendoza shooting, once the saturation bonuses advantage shifts to Mendoza's favor, this will be more than 8. The post-human does not want to try and engage Mendoza with submachine gun at that range. But if I look along this distance, I think we'll probably just see the Marut move forward to about here, behind this truck, and it'll clean him up. So, bad start for Mendoza, and that's pretty unfortunate. So we look at the order pool, and we can see, yeah. So that's the movement into this forest, and the subsequent inconclusive face-to-face rolls has really gutted the order pool there. The Sepulchre will still have 5 orders to spend, and we can kind of conjecture that probably we'll want to engage the Zion total reaction bot probably won't want to engage the Marut. And the reason why I don't think it'll necessarily want to engage the Marut is that this is the Marut will be able to guts back into total cover if it needs to, and there's a Yud bot right behind it. Oh, by the way, in terms of how this is played, the treetops are considered solid for the purposes of blocking like crossboard line of fire from rooftop to rooftop, but the forests themselves otherwise are just amorphous. So this Yudbot, for example, is actually kind of exposed despite the tree there. A model would be able to see it from like long distance, but it's mimetism in a sat zone, in a visibility zone, and it's back away from the Coco Shrine to give the Marut space to guts back. So the Sepulchre Knight, it could get really, really lucky, but it will only be firing 3 shots into the Marut, and it will be firing 3 shots on 11s, whereas the Marut will be firing 1 shot back on 12s while it's surprised, but then on 15s after that. So this is likely to be inconclusive unless we see, like, you can always just triple crit, right? It's a big +1 damage AP HMG. It's a good weapons platform, but the Marut is just very resilient while she's in this forest. So some movement forward. Just generally, while we're waiting for this to move, we're going to also see the Peacemaker move forward here. Now this I think is probably too bold a play. This is a Spitfire Peacemaker, which is actually I think is a very nice rounding out to the rest of the list. This in terms of this as a military orders list, core linked heavy rocket launcher and Mendoza and the Sepulchre Knight are all solid firepower platforms, but you want a little bit more. And the Spitfire, normally I would take a shotgun, but I think the Spitfire really helps round out the fact that you're playing a Panashanian army with no smoke. So I actually quite like the Spitfire in this particular case. No capacity, the Mulebot is not a hacker, so there's no capacity to give it support wear, but the few extra points I think are nice. Now, if we're just looking, and it's a bit tricky to see with the forests, but I think the Marut has a line that will pin this Peacemaker down. It actually will be much better served coming around this flank to maybe engage some of these things. Little lock spots moving forward. Just while sort of things are happening, I was quite keen to see Mendoza in play, and it's a bit disappointing that he's been no-sold so early and so hard by a post-human. It can happen. It's a flash pulse. It's what it do. But I've played 1 game against Mendoza myself already, and I was actually pretty surprised by just how effective he is. He teed up on a Raicho at about 30 inches, and I was convinced this is a fine face-to-face roll. He's using a rifle, and he just about melted the Raicho to slag, because Mimetism -6 is on an Apex gunfighter is really good. In this case, we will have to wait at least a turn to see what Mendoza can do. Okay, so the Oxbot's moving forward. The Marut is teeing up on the teeing up on the Oxbot. And the Oxbot, I assume, this is almost certainly a mine. So it looks like he's... Yep, so here we go. So the Oxbot, yeah, is moving forward to detonate the mine. It's going to take a Marut shot in the process. It's almost certainly going to die. Quoth, the military orders player, it's just an Oxbot. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, no, Marut's explosive round hits it. I have seen stranger things than an Oxbot surviving this, but let's have a quick look at the dice. And no, it is all the way to dead. It's unconscious dead. There's no remote presence on an Oxbot. They just have a single wound. So down it goes. No cover there. I've just heard Trent say it's unconscious level 2. Trent, when you watch this, remember, Oxbots don't have remote presence. Whatchamacallit. Yep. I might just jump in real quick here. Just confirming, lads, not all remotes have remote presence. There's only 2 wounds on an Oxbot. One to unconscious, 1 to dead. Now I don't think there's a machinist in this list. No, you can link a machinist in with this core, and I was talking to Trent earlier today about highly classified lists, and they featured prominently a machinist, a military orders machinist, in the core link. But in this case, this is a supremacy list. So I think what we're going to see here, I mean, order pool is diminishing. What Trent really needs to do at this point is probably needs to move the Sepulchre Knight up to do what it can, and then pull back. I don't think Trent can fight the Marut. He could push his luck, right? So I don't know which one is real, I don't have information, but he could try and push the Sepulchre Knight up to here and engage the Marut, and just hope that surprise carries the day. That's the riskiest play, because the Sepulchre Knight is really the best piece he has for killing the Marut. Kind of the problem is, pretty obviously, the Marut is unlikely to want to end any of its turns not hanging out in one of these forests. It's an MSV2 tag with multi-terrain. These forests both accelerate its movement because of the terrain skill, and protect it because of the saturation zone and the visibility zone. So I think we're just seeing things move. Here we go, the Oxbot's moving around. And the Zion rebot, yeah, does the Marut have the line? I don't think a Marut has a, I don't think she has a cross table line, but he'd need to turn there. Hard to say. Oh no, there's a little bit of a line over the Kyoko Shrine, but it's not much. It's sort of like, yeah, it's down here. Yeah, and they're just having a quick chat now. So for as long as the Marut is hanging out in this forest, and this is why, by the way, I have chosen to jump Ryan, combat drop him down onto this table as part of the team event, because with these forests, I mean, it's not like we didn't know that they, like, captains and teams knew exactly what the tables would be ahead of the event, and some of them prominently feature visibility zones. This is one of them. There's also a supplies table that has a mimetism so has visibility -6 zones, and I think at least one other table that has forests. In this instance, we've got a couple of players who have built lists to really be able to take advantage of those. And I don't know if you've ever played, you, the viewer, have ever played on a table with native visibility or even native 0 visibility zones, but I am not a fan, personally. Now, I'm going to take advantage of them. If, in this case, Ral has published team missions or team event missions with visibility zones featuring prominently on some maps, and so the team has absolutely built like Marut, right? There's a Marut list. The Marut is an excellent tag already, and it is an absolutely fucking phenomenal tag. Like, it may just about be the best piece in the game when there are mimetism, there are visibility, poor visibility, -6, difficult terrain, saturation zones on the table. It's exceptional. It's oppressively exceptional. So we've got a Marut, and then there are other players as well. Without wanting to spoil anything about what's going on with our lists, we have other, lists as well that have plenty of tools that can take advantage of those things. We have a Svalaheimer player, just for example, no prizes for guessing what pieces he's using, that can really play well on a table with low vis, sat, difficult terrain zones. So I think in this case, really what we've seen is we've seen the Marut hanging out in this forest, no-sell the first turn of the military orders pretty conclusively. Now, what will really matter is what the Sepulchre Knight does. It might try to get ballsy, and it might get lucky, and if it gets really lucky, that could swing the game massively. If it gets really unlucky, that could close the game out on the first turn, pretty much. Now, the defenses that the military order player has, I think, are pretty good. These sergeants can get into some really nice positions to defend with both their hacking and their oxbots. And we can kind of just look and see there are no killer hackers hanging out on this side of the table. The only things that might be a hacker are is this camouflage marker, mimetism -6, and if it's a post-human, because it deployed with the post-humans, which means it's a regular hacker. Its whip is high, but it's not going to kill an order sergeant hacker. So the hacking defense that military orders have got here, actually pretty good. Like, genuinely pretty good. 2 hackers with whip 13, BTS 3 is not like king and god of this Middle Earth, but it is enough. Particularly when you've got a midfield repeater like this Peacemaker, very nice. So yeah, we can see here an Order Sergeant moving up, and it'll probably be... It's a couple of things this Order Sergeant could be doing. It's only got a few orders left, so I'm a bit worried about it. But, so she's just moved up to suppress, and she's got kind of like a line down here. I kind of think she's going to get killed by a Zayin Rebot. But, we'll see. Yeah, I think she's going to die to a Zayin Rebot when it crawls like up the side of this building and up here and tees up on her at probably like 28 inches. But I could be wrong about that, we'll see. There's also a Dakini heavy machine gun back here, but it's not going to be able to get line of fire. Yeah, no, because she's prone, you actually would have to be on this solar paneled rooftop, which means the Dakini can't really get there, but the Zayin can. It'll just like whoop sideways up onto this wall, and then you can see on my screen is showing line of fire now. Very easy shots down into the Order Sergeant. Alright, Sepulchral Knight is moving, so this is the action. The real question here is, does the Sepulchral Knight move to engage the Zayin Rebot, or does it move to engage the Marut, or does it move to do neither? I am a conservative player by nature. In my shoes, I would look to engage the Zayin Rebot, but I am also aware that it's kind of a mixed proposition. And the reason why it's a mixed proposition is that the Zayin Rebot's going to drop prone, it's going to go on, if it goes unconscious and doesn't die, it'll drop prone, and there's a proxy engineer right next to it. I actually really like this position. I think that the only thing I would change about how Ryan has deployed this is I would pull it back very, very slightly, because there's just a little bit of a risk. It's probably fine, right? But there's a little bit of a risk that when it dies and drops prone, its base is still visible from a model sufficiently far back or high up. And what you really want with this kind of a piece is you want it to drop prone fully out of line of fire. That's one of the things that makes total reaction bots in 4th edition really, really annoying. In a good way, like real feature, not bug kind of situation. The fact that you drop prone when you fall unconscious and stand up from prone when unconscious is cancelled makes the passive presence of a TR bot with 1 order per turn. Like, it usually takes more than 1 order to engage and destroy a TR bot, and it usually takes exactly 1 order to bring it back. So this engineer hanging out back here can just fix the Zayin Rebot with an order every turn. And the Aleph list sort of like conclusively has more orders than the military orders list as well. Not a lot more, right? The military orders list is clocking in at 14 orders, but the Aleph list will be clocking in, if Ryan is willing to convert irregulars to regular, at 16. So it's a good trade for Ryan if this Zayin Rebot just dies and comes back and dies and comes back every turn. So yeah, just watching this. So the Sepulchral Knight is just moving forward. This is kind of suggesting to me that maybe this is the real one, but we will see. Because this one is, yeah, that's definitely through the Marut's line of fire. Unless he's prone. Yeah, that's an easy line down there. So I'm kind of thinking that this one is real. If the Sepulchral Knight had been prone, I think it would have probably been okay, but as a standing piece... Alright, so actually maybe this one is real. Which actually would be pretty reasonable, yeah. If that one's real, then you can bring the real one up and around to here to engage the Zayin. So, it's just a little bit of pausing. Okay, very sportsmanlike from Ryan here, just explaining the lines of fire that these troops have moved through. Obviously, as a hollow echoed model, you have like multiple pieces that you can present as threats to the enemy, and they have to choose which one to ARO against. But the real thing you don't want to do is present every echo individually to an individual target that can just ARO without consequence. So yeah, bit of backsies, that's fine. Just as Trent sort of like sets up to see what sets up to find a target. So he's ended up settling on moving one of them forward, which presumably tells me that it's a bit of a fake. I imagine this will disappear in a moment. Yeah, crit hit. So down goes the echo. If this is real, then Trent has done a horrible, horrible thing, but I suspect it's... There we go. Alright, yep, so it was fake, disappears in a puff of nanites. The Hollow Echo state is still intact, so the Sepulchre Knight will still have surprise when it reveals itself. Interesting little thing to note here, just as part of that, was that Trent had the opportunity to measure the gunfight, right? Because you had to, right? You had to check the range on the total reaction bot to its target, which the Sepulchre Knight has then been able to use to know that this distance from the Zayin to about this car is 21 inches, which means that he can move out and fall off the edge, but whatever, to engage the Zayin, pretty confident that he'll be inside good range. So that's interesting. Just, just remember what the ranges are. So I think, right, this is a very small mechanical error. So the Sepulchre Knight has moved out, just one of them has moved out to see the Zayin Rebot. The Zayin Rebot has elected to hold. It can, because the Sepulchre Knight is in a marker state still, but there is no reason to. It's actually better off to shoot in that particular instance, because it is obvious that the Sepulchre Knight is going to shoot you. By not shooting back immediately, all you do is give it an opportunity to maybe do something else. Now, probably wouldn't do anything, because it's not crossing this gap, there's a Marut watching it, but that's just a thing to note. I think it would have been, strictly speaking, very slightly more optimal to shoot immediately rather than attempt to hold your arrow against the model in a marker state. So, the gunfight will ensue. This is 4 dice on 4 dice, the Zayin's going to be on 8s, and the Sepulchre Knight will be on 14s. So quite favoured, but not certain. 4 dice on 4 dice is always going to be a little dicey. Now, the Zayin's going to need to crit. Let's see how the Zayin Rebot does. Looking for 8s here for Ryan. And he does not get them. The 6 is going to end up cancelling one of those hits, but that's 3 spicy damage 16. Oh no, I see Ryan has already rolled. Yep. So yeah, we're going to unconscious, a double unconscious. So we've got, fail, fail, pass, pass on the saves. So a double unconscious Zayin Rebot, and it has dropped prone and out of line of fire. Now, if we pull back to the Sepulchre Knight, I don't think there's any way that it could move to engage the Zayin Rebot that would let him kill it, which means that, so Ryan's deployment here, we can see it's just away from the edge. I spoke about this before. Being just far enough away, if he'd been on this edge, then going prone would let him in line of fire. But as a bit back, he's okay, although it was pretty close. So there's a run on the board, there's a kill for the Sepulchre Knight. He is choosing to spend an order to re-echo, which I suspect means that he wants to have a go at the Marut, which is bold, but I kinda get it. Either he wants to have a go at the Marut or he wants to close the distance using his marker state and hope the Marut doesn't just shoot one of them. Either way, I'm not sure where he would want to go, but it is Supremacy. You kind of want to get in the zone. The real problem right now is that if he doesn't put points in zones, it's actually pretty trivially easy for Ryan to kill this Peacemaker and control this space. Mendoza is expensive, but still. Okay, he's looking across the distance. So the Sepulchre Knight is moving out, and I imagine that 3 Sepulchres will be moving through line of fire of the Marut. Now Ryan does kind of have to hold here. He really kind of does. You don't want to guess wrong and take a bunch of unopposed shots. But we'll see how he plays it up. Yeah, so here they go, moving forward. And the Marut is holding, which, he pretty much had to do. This is one of those situations where Hollow Echo is not as good as a big boy marker state, as camouflage, but it gets you across some gaps like this, particularly when you're packing as much firepower as the Sepulchre Knight is. The Marut can't afford to guess wrong. Even 3 shots on 11s with damage 16 armor piercing it stands a chance of putting it down. So, with only one order left on the Sepulchre Knight, I strongly suspect that we are not going to see a great deal more from it this turn. So let's just sort of recap. Real notable is that the post-human Proxy Mark V is still a broken piece of shit. And I hate post-humans and they're very powerful. Holding up Mendoza means we haven't really got to see Mendoza strut his stuff. But the visibility zones, saturation zones are really at play in favor of the defender there. Otherwise, we've got a kill on the board with the military orders, but Aleph defense has held very, very well here. And I think this is kind of a good list, and this was good deployment. We can expect to see some repairs from Ryan, and as the second player, he can pick and choose his battles. He will want to take one of these two zones, the left or the right, to put points on the board, and were I in his shoes... It's an interesting challenge, because you have to kill this Peacemaker to advance. The hackers will possess the Merit otherwise. But if you do, this is a fantastic location. The other option is to be a bit more conservative and just use something like this Libertos to kill the Peacemaker. Question mark. Maybe move the... Like, he's got a Surefitter, like he's got plenty of attack elements, right? There's this post-human here. The defensive Overwatch is pretty chill from the military orders player. So quite a lot of attacking could be done. Interesting point sort of between the players, just a bit of conversation as the game was beginning, was the Trent obviously had the option. When Ryan won the roll, Trent obviously had the option to go second because Ryan picked deployment. But Trent is an Australian player, plays in New South Wales, and he has attempted a couple of times to deploy first, go second. And those have not been great experiences. It's actually something that is increasingly of interest to me because two of the players on my team in this event are Raymond from the Netherlands and Persian from Poland, and the European meta is much less afraid of deploying first, going second, and I've seen both of those players execute that. And I think on one occasion I've seen it backfire, but they are comfortably the best players I've seen at playing to leverage the second player advantage despite the deployment advantage of deploying second in a way that's really interesting. And I'm very slowly moderating my opinion on whether or not you can afford to do that and under what circumstances. Now that said, both of those guys are still ballsier than I am. And they are some fucking bold dudes. But in this case, I think I agree with a Whip 15 Lieutenant on the Aleph side, and this table as it is, and the scenario as it is. I think there's a non-zero chance that Trent could have held a first turn alpha, but you just don't want to let post-humans run up your guts. Even with Oxbots and flamethrowers and stuff, post-humans that deploy after you have placed everything, and which don't cost any orders when they die, and Libertos and the Marut and the potential for catastrophic failure state, I respect Trent's decision to go first. At least set his defense fully up, etc. Try and pull the game out a little bit long. So Ryan's moving into his second turn now, and he has this as an order pool. Only the Zayan has gone down. The Marut is a Strategos 2 Lieutenant, so he could flip things around between groups if he wanted to. He might, we'll see. But yeah, he's got kind of his pick of what to do here. Now I think this is probably, he could feasibly make a run in on this link, but he'd have to clear Mendoza to do it. But what is sort of relevant to note is that there are some high value pieces in the midfield, both high value in terms of points and high value in terms of if they are destroyed, that's quite bad for the military orders player. And there are probably assets in place to do that work. The Marut, obviously very, very good. She can engage Mendoza from maybe this position here or this position here, behind this planter bed. Moving up in that process, in that way, would also let her engage the Sepulchre Knight. There's this Peacemaker, which if it can be destroyed, would be really good, actually, because this is the midfield repeater that poses a threat to the Marut. What the Marut probably wants to do, if it can, is end its turn, maybe in suppressive, maybe not, but in one of these forests, in a position ideally where it's dominating one of the two zones closest to the military orders deployment zone. Now, if it drops here and it ends up killing its way through, then it's going to have to deal with hacking attempts against the next turn. But I don't think that's the end of the world. I think Ryan's got plenty of command tokens. He's got 3 remaining. If the Marut ends up here, kills Mendoza, kills the Sepulchre, kills the Peacemaker, dominates the zone, then the Sergeant moving up to this wall to hack it subsequently, firstly, is likely to take a fair bit of time, and secondly, possessed tags actually aren't that dangerous. What's it going to do? Like, it might kill some stuff, but that'll still, you'll just take it back at the end of your turn, and it'll be points in the zone again. So that's sort of like a good path to take it back at the beginning of your next turn. That's a good path to victory. So there's some movement, and I think we're going to see some repairs, some movement, etc. What's moving? Yep. So the post-human doing Aleph's work and moving up to fix the Zayan robot. No arrows declared. There's a 12. Zayan stands back up. And so again, this is sort of what I was talking about, right? The Sepulchre Knight spent 2 or 3, like it spent 5 orders in total, and in those 5 orders it killed a Zayan robot, and in one order, test run has been done. That's pretty good, and the posthuman, has undone all of that work. Now, it hasn't totally undone the work. Some of what the Sepulchre was trying to do was advance. It was trying to clear off the obstacle posed by the Zayan to move itself into the midfield, but certainly you can definitely make the point that it spent 5 orders, it killed one thing, and in one order, that thing came back. So the question sort of from here on out is, what does Ryan do? His offensive options are very strong, and he has posthumans if he wants to use them as well. But he's got a chunky order pool as well. The second pool, it looks like the Marut, so the Marut has moved into the first combat group. So we now have a second combat group that I suspect includes probably the posthumans, maybe some other elements, but up comes the big girl. And so of course she's got 7 inches of movement on the first skill thanks to her multi-terrain. And so it looks like she's moved into line of fire of the Peacemaker. I mean, at least I think she has. We'll see what the players think. Oh, there's a maybe shot downrange into the Sergeant Hacker as well. Yep. I think she's moved into. So I think honestly she's moved into line of fire of that Peacemaker, to be honest. But it looks like this is going to be the face-to-face first. So we've got dodging Peacemaker. It looks like it's bad range for the Marut. It's pretty close. So the Marut's going to need 9s, but gets a shot through. So damage 16 round, crunches into the Order Sergeant, and he dies. Order Sergeants don't have armor, armor 1, so that is a dead Sergeant. And all the way to dead thanks to shock, so no chance to paramedic. I don't think this was the best. He only had so many orders and he was trying to get points in zone, so I sort of respect that. But this was like a sketchy position. I would almost have been inclined to park on top of the car. That would be a question to ask your opponent. Can I end movement on this? Because it is a curved, it's like weird curved surface. But if I remember correctly, these cars are about the height of Silhouette 2 models, and being up here, where you can't get teed up on from this range, would have been a little preferable. Okay, and here we go. Peacemaker versus Marut. Now, the Marut will have cover the entire way, so with the Peacemaker, they'll each be suffering a burst penalty. It's 18 inches, which is at least within suppressive fire range, which is good for the Peacemaker, but it's, very good for the Marut. So the Marut's going to be on 12s here, and the poor Peacemaker will be on something like 3s. So I think this is going to be, I would say 3 dice 12s versus 2 dice 3s, which is a pretty pants face-to-face roll, but there's a chance the Peacemaker will hold a couple of orders. I think that might be a crit. Just jumping in, guys, is that 3 not a crit? So, a wound has been suffered. I accidentally stopped recording briefly during there, so I'm going to have to see if I can stitch those two videos together. Fucking hilarious, this will be fun. So yeah, we have a wound on the Peacemaker. Sorry, a wound on the Marut. This is a pretty much best case scenario, is that the crit gets through. But this is still a good face-to-face roll, right? You want to just you want to force this until the Peacemaker is dead. Now this wound on the Marut might change. That'll be 2 hits on the Peacemaker. This wound on the Marut might tempt Ryan to maybe move the Yudbot forward to repair. Yudbot does not have terrain, so it's going to be moving 5 inches, but still it should only be a couple of orders away from repairing the Marut. I don't fully know Ryan's combat groups, but if the Posthuman is in Group 2, I would be considering spending those orders, fixing the Marut. If the Posthuman's not in Group 2, probably not, because the Marut's going to want those orders. You don't want to suck air away from it. But having taken a wound in reactive turn from the Peacemaker is about as good as the Marut's odds are going to get, about as good as it gets for military orders. Yeah, okay. And now up comes the big girl, and yeah, she's moving in, I think, to see Father Inquisitor Mendoza. So let's see what Mendoza wants to do. Now he's almost certainly going to dodge here, because that even moving through the open, he'll be 8s. He might take the shot. I can't mouse over his stats while it's in silhouette, but let's have a quick look at Army. So Mendoza dodges on 16s, or he could fire a D8 round downrange at the Marut out of cover on an 8. That's an interesting question, actually. I suspect he wants to dodge because he needs to live, but we'll see. We'll see what Trent does. Yep, there's the dodge. Range is good. Ryan's looking for 15s. Ooh, 3 hits get through. These will be armor-piercing rounds against the Inquisitor's armor of 4. We'll see how he goes. Nice fall where they may. He is fine. Makes all 3 saves. Now, does Mendoza have Religious Troop? Yes, he does. So he has to make a roll. Which is not particularly thematic, because Mendoza is not actually a knight. Mendoza is a paid stuntman. Or rather, the Mendoza that deploys into combat zones is a paid stunt person. Okay, so he survives. That's really good, actually. Mendoza is one of the pieces that has a genuine chance of recovering the game for military orders. The Sepulchre Knight is the other, in full fairness. And with the Marut stalking around, being able to keep him safe is a really nice outcome. Still plenty of orders on the Aleph side. Let's see what happens. So the Zayen is activating, and it's activating in line of fire of a Sepulchre Knight. Which I think is choosing to react. So that's very interesting. He's choosing not to react. Okay, so poof, disappears. So now these 2 will be more than 8 inches apart, I suspect, which means that one of them probably has to disappear. Yeah, the players are measuring now. Let's have a look. Yep. Okay. So that's super close. That's super close, but they are still inside of 8. So the echo state is maintained. So Ryan has not. He was worth trying to go for that shot to see if he had the order, right? But now we've got still two knights still in hollow echo state, and the Marut's not sure which one is real. Of course, she can just move to see both at once and see what they do. It's a really interesting question here because there are a bunch of orders, and almost categorically what the Marut wants to do is end up in this jungle zone. It's just kind of, what does she do along the way, and do you spend an order to get her back up to speed? Okay, so she is just running across the open. I don't actually hate this because she has a damn good face-to-face roll against those knights, or knight rather, and even on 1 dice 16 versus 4 dice 15s. Yep. Now he's trying to just see the front one, which actually is fair enough. Yeah, he kind of has. Cool. Okay. So we'll see if this one reacts. If it doesn't, then Ryan knows which one is real, which is fair cop. May as well flamethrower it. So yep. Okay. So what's happening is that the Marut, this knight has not reacted, which means the Marut's just going to have to flamethrower it. Which means that unless we will see here if Trent, it's a heavy flamethrower, lads. There we go. That's easily within range, no question. Yeah. There we go. Whoosh, big boom, and it'll disappear. There we go. So that removes the echo state. We now know that this one is real. We also know that in order to cross this gap, Ryan's going to have to break cover against it, but I think that's fine. You could choose to bring the engineer forward. We will see. Okay, so the proxy is moving. I didn't see where he spent an order from, but I think it was from Combat Group 1. So I'm going to assume that the proxies are in Group 1. And he's just trying to sneak past Mendoza here. With the proxies being in Group 1, let's just do a quick count if he'd wanted to bring one up. So it would be 1 order to get to here, 1 to get to... I would say it would be 3 orders to bring the Marut up to speed, which would leave the Marut with 3 orders to engage the Sepulchre Knight. And you'd get 1 order to get into the forest. And from the forest, probably, frankly, I think at that point what happens is that you pin it down. And that's about that. So, okay, yeah, fair enough. So this posthuman is just moving forward. They're just trying to see if it can be, if the posthuman can get, basically can cautious move through. I would say it probably can't. Just as an eyeball, I think Mendoza's line of fire kind of terminates at this barrel, but it's very, very, very close. So I don't envy the players having to make that decision. If it was $1 million on the line, I wouldn't want to make the call. Okay, now I can see Mendoza. I can see Mendoza. Yeah, okay, so that's probably line of fire. But down to the players to decide. So they've decided basically that there wasn't, if there was line of fire, it wasn't from or to 3mm on either troop. And so the posthumans just kind of like kept moving around, and it's making a run on this console. It's taken an extra order to do that. Yep, okay. I am mixed on how I feel about doing this. Not that I think it is bad, more that I think it is something you would want to do at the conclusion of your turn after you've accomplished other things. I think Ryan is doing this to give himself some thinking space to get back to the Marut, and I'm not 100% on it. Check the roll really quickly, and it didn't want to show me what he rolled. That's okay. Maybe he had to move. Actually, I think he had to move to get there, which is fair cop. Okay, here comes the Marut. Here comes the boom. And she's actually choosing to move in and out of line of fire. I think this is a mistake. Oh, there's a crit. So that'll be 3 saves on the Sepulchre Knight. He's pretty heavily armored, but he's not that heavily armored, and that is an unconscious and dead. That is a dead Sepulchre Knight. Armor 5 goes to 3. Yeah, those are all fails. So that was the outcome that Ryan was looking for, basically. As much as it sucked to get crit and lose a wound from the Peacemaker, the Marut is a damage BS 15 main battle tag, and the Sepulchre Knight cannot fight that. Like maybe if it's insuppressive, but it wasn't, and yeah, that was good range. So with 1 shot at a stroke, the Aleph tag has cleaned up a 56 point heavy infantry. So she's pulling back here. Actually, that's probably all right. But if I don't see this camouflage marker run forward, I am going to be upset, because this zone has nothing in it. It's free for the taking. Something better move to occupy it. Pulling the Marut back now, actually, I don't dislike, because almost what you want to do is just pin Mendoza down. And not die to this Blackfriar. I think those are your two objectives right now with the Marut, is don't die to the Blackfriar and pin Mendoza down. With priority being don't die to the Blackfriar. It is totally fine if she gets hacked. There are not going to be enough orders, as far as I can tell, on the side of the military orders to meaningfully do a rampage with her. So, yeah, all right. So he's moving up to here, and yeah, moving back. All right. So this will be a move. So the decision is we pull back, reset status quo, and score points. I actually think that's totally sensible and fine. We have not a lot of orders left. I would really have liked to have seen one of these, like some orders be spent fixing the Marut. There might be enough, but it comes second after scoring zones. Actually, no, I tell a lie. I'm an idiot. He does not need to contest this zone. Nothing is in it, which means he is presently scoring 2 to the 1 of the military orders player. So there is not actually a specific need to move a troop forward to here. It would just be nice. So Dakini is moving forward. Yes, well and good. So yeah, I'm thinking get the Marut back into the position where it was, get it fixed, and that will probably be both of these remaining orders, including a command token, to turn the Libertos's or Warcaws irregular order regular. Just looking at the list really quickly. Libertos's order regular. The Libertos is combat group 1. So in my shoes, I would be, getting the Marut healed up, throw command tokens at that until it succeeds, reset status quo, you're in a good defensive position, you're back up to full because the Zayn has been repaired, the military orders have taken some pretty impressive casualties. And at that juncture, basically what is happening is that you're putting the impetus on the military orders player to either conclusively defeat you with like a core-linked Blitzen shot, noting that there's chain of command back here, right? So pretty unlikely. Or conclusively defeat you with Mendoza. And I think Mendoza is awesome, but I don't think he's doing that by himself. But we will see. Okay. So instead we've just got Proxy, pressing some buttons, doing some things. Not unreasonable. Marut's pulled back to here. This is serviceable. So she's still wounded, obviously. We can tell because its Yudbot has not moved at all. But this is fine. Saying that with just a little bit of like, fine, that's fine. The remaining existential threat to the Marut is these guns. Core-linked Blackfriar, which to be fair will just be firing 2 shots, but it won't be suffering any penalties from the Viz zone. Crozier with Blitzen, which frankly might well be a Knight Commander. Crozier with Spitfire, which might also be a Knight Commander. Let's just check. I can confirm this is actually the Knight Commander. Crozier Paramedic. Crozier. So there's 2 Blitzen Paramedics, 2 Blitzen Croziers, and 1 Spitfire Crozier, and 1 Blackfriar. Any of them could be a Knight Commander. One of them has to be. The Paramedic wouldn't, because it's useful. Paramedic is typically going to be real. Now I know it's the Crozier, but I don't think there's any way. The SWC on the table gives Ryan no way to know that the Spitfire is fake, because all he's seen is a 1 SWC, 1 SWC Sepulchre Knight, 1.5 SWC Blackfriar, 1 SWC Peacemaker, and then a couple of half SWC hackers, which collectively adds up to 5.5 when you add in the Spitfire, which is, not enough to, like make a thing of this. So the Spitfire could easily be real. So what Ryan is actually facing are 2 Blitzens and a HRL, and either of those, the Blitzens I think are not a massive threat because they're only going to be burst 1, but the heavy rocket launcher, if it wanted to move around, now he's pretty well hidden there. But the heavy rocket launcher could come up this ladder, and if it did so, I think it would have line of fire to the Marut. And if it gets line of fire to the Marut and it's willing to have that face-to-face roll, it could feasibly kill her. So I would be more leaning towards pulling her all the way back to here and just being like, I've scored points. This is on you to do some damage now. But he didn't, and this is more forward. And I suspect ultimately it will be fine. I'm just being very, very, very risk averse. So Zayn's moving forward, and This is good. I think actually really like the Zayn is in the disposable second combat group. It is a great piece, particularly like in this situation, kind of like where firepower dominance has been established, right? It's going to be up to the military orders player to try and dislodge things, and the military orders player is not going to have enough orders to easily dislodge, for example, a Zayn rebot. Having to kill it before it can take any action against the Marut is not necessarily not ideal. So, end of this turn. I think we'll find that the points go. So not only has there been a button clicked and a classified done, which is great, and some casualties scored, which is also great, but the Aleph player has controlled 2 zones to the 1 of the military orders player. And we're over to military orders player 2, and he's going to condense that in his groups and kick off the turn. Yeah, so here we go. It's 2 command tokens spent, and that was to move the trauma dock and the other model that wasn't a Sepulchre Knight, the one of the presumably the remaining hacker order sergeant, to fill up. So we've got 10 regular and 2 lieutenant. No NCO, so the lieutenant's not really particularly useful, but 10 regular orders basically that this link team and Mendoza can spend. It should be 9 actually, because he can't pop something over the Peacemaker. Yeah, there we go. 9 regular. Let's see what he can do. Alright, the link is activating. And he's going straight for the money shot. As far as I can tell, he's moving. Okay, he's moving to see. Okay, so that he's. Alright, I'm wrong. He's moving to see the TR bot. Now, I don't know if the players remember this, but the this tree blocks line of fire. The canopy does, but oh no, I see. Yeah, there's kind of like there's a line. Yep, no, he's got it. He's got it under the canopy there. We can see it. I'm trying to just angle the camera. Yeah, okay, cool. So this is going to be a presumably burst 2 BS15 Blitzen versus a burst 4 BS11 shotback. Now, that's not a great face-to-face roll. It's not terrible, but it's not wonderful either. You're massively outdiced. But what fucking choice do you have? Because he's got to clear this fucking thing off and then go for the Marut. Now, there's a serious question here, like, do you then, gee, what do you do? What do you tee up on the Marut? But let's see if we can clear this first hurdle. I assume the assumption was that he couldn't take this fight with Blackfriar. Although it totally looks like he can to me, and I'm not sure why he's not taking the fight with the Blackfriar. But 10 is a really good roll from Ryan. Oh, and the shot lands. Okay. So, pretty bad. Make some saves. Yeah, she's alright. Okay. But that's her Blitzen's expended. Now, also just like minor point of optimization here, this shit should be moving forward. This Crozier should at least have been moving. Or it should have been the one to take the shot, actually. I think this Crozier is the one that should have taken the face-to-face roll, but meh, it didn't. It is what it is. He's activating the same Crozier again. I'm going to jump in again here real quick, guys. Trent, is this your 3rd and 4th Blitzen fired from the Crozier, or did I miss a reload? I missed a reload. Cheers, guys. Thank you. Okay. So, we've got a Mulebot reload. This looked like it was more than 8, but fair enough. Okay, does the Crozier survive a second time? No, she's unconscious. And the link breaks, although there are command tokens remaining. Now, again, I legit think that it should be the Blackfriar making this face-to-face roll. Better dice, more dice, can easily kill, but he's trying out the... but really, yeah, really in the shoes of Ryan, in the shoes of Trent here, what I would be doing is moving the Blackfriar up, right? Take the same face-to-face roll, but with a Blackfriar would have been 4 shots. Now, I mean, nothing protects you from that crit, unfortunately, but would be 4 shots on 16s. And you might even be able to take the shot on 2 shots 16s through the forest, bringing the rebot down to 3 shots on 8s, which is again, I mean, total reaction bots, right? They just win face-to-face rolls sometimes. But in any case, he's moved in with the Crozier, and it's going to be a challenge to get this paramedic up. So we can sort of see, unfortunately, we can kind of just see it slipping away here. And we can see it slipping away because of this wonderfully positioned Zayan rebot. But we will see. So he's reforming up a 3-person link, presumably leaving the Knight Commander out, because the Knight Commander will probably want to spend some Lieutenant orders. Yeah. Yep. Okay, so without the link bonus, this will be 2 dice if the players may decide that the forest does not interpose, but this will probably be either 3 dice 13s or 2 dice 13s versus the burst back from the Zayan rebot. And they've determined that the woods are not interposing between the Zayan rebot and the Blackfriar. So 3 dice 13s, 4 dice 11s. There's another 10. Alright. So once again, we've got shots land on the Zayan. So it's looking very much like at this point that the Zayan is going to pretty much do it. Now there's kind of a case to be made, now that I'm looking at it, that Mendoza should be taking this fight. And it didn't occur to me until now, which obviously is a great comfort to anyone in particular. But this face-to-face roll, Mendoza would be... Let's do the math. Mendoza would be 2 dice on 5s. The Zayan would be 3 dice on 2s. Yeah, I mean, that's a roll of desperation, but it is what it is. So let's have a look. Yeah, he's going for it. So this will be 2 dice 5s, because it's going to be minus range, minus cover, minus visibility. But yeah, all right, Mendoza making the play. So let's watch as this flipping thing rolls 3 dice on 2s. Oh, it's within 16. I don't think it is. Alright, yep, no, it's within 16. Okay, so the rebot... I'm not... Yeah, that's not... They're measuring 2D there. I'm pretty sure that's more than 16. Yeah, okay, Ryan's finally noticed that it's not measuring 3D. Yeah, that's like... Yeah, 18 inches. So, we got 2s versus 5s. Okay. 2 dice on 5s has rolled 2 5s. Does Ryan crit back? I think Ryan just crit back twice. But I'm not 100% on that. So that'll be 4 saves. No, I think that was crits cancelled by crits. Yep, try again. So it was 2 5s, crit twice, and the TR bot also crit twice. Yeah, so TR bots. So Mendoza's moving up. Oh, okay, okay. It looks like... Where the fuck did the Zayan go? Alright, I think Ryan missed that those 2s were crits. And that's plus for range, minus for cover, minus for mimetism, minus for visibility. So that's okay. That'll keep the game interesting. But I'm pretty sure that crits cancelled crits there. As it is, Mendoza is moving forward, and he's got some orders to make a play of this. Looks like he's going to kill the Netrod in the first instance, maybe go after the Myrmidian, make some plays, and we'll see what he can do. Here we go. Yep, tease up. Tease up on the proxy. Now, this is going to be a better face-to-face roll for Mendoza, even though he's moved out of cover. This will be better than it was last time, because... he's got a back shot even on the proxy. Now, even if the proxy had been facing in a direction where I could see Mendoza, this would have been better for Mendoza, because Mendoza would have 3 dice on 14s, whereas the proxy would be 1 dice back on probably 12s. Yeah, and the proxy had sort of kept his line of fire down to here. So it's going to take some shots in the back. The posthuman is at least in cover because of the console. It's a 3-dimensional object, so it provides cover. Blah blah blah. Yeah, this'll be 3 rounds rapid, I suspect. Interesting question here is: does Mendoza fire shock rounds or does he fire AP? Normally you'd fire shock against the posthuman because it's not shock immune, but Mendoza has continuous damage. I suspect he still fires shock, and I suspect he fires shock just because you're really only getting effective +1 damage off of the AP, right? Because it's just armor 3 down to 2, so you may as well make a crack at it. Ryan's rolled a dice, and I have no idea why, because he sure as fuck isn't under control. But that's all right. Let's see what Mendoza does. Yeah, so as it happens, he's gone AP. So this will be an interesting test of continuous damage. So we've got 1 pass, 1 fail. That fail would have just killed him, but the 9 would not have. So this is interesting, right? This has made a liar of me. The 9 would have succeeded against shock ammunition. It failed just barely against AP, and the continuous damage finished him off. So the decision to fire AP as the dice fell was correct. That's super interesting. So Mendoza scored a kill. He'll have a chance probably to kill... that's what the dodge was. I was like, why is he rolling a dodge? He's rolling a dodge on the Myrmidian. That makes sense. So Mendoza will have a chance to kill this Netrod. And he's sort of conclusively gotten into this space. Now, frankly, I think Military Orders is still well fucked. Not to put too fine a point on it. This is not a game that Military Orders will be able to carry. They've lost too much and they can't recover it. The paramedic can potentially bring the Blackfire back up, but this is just this firefight was disastrous off the back of losses that Military Orders really couldn't afford to take, unfortunately. But here we are seeing what a fucking Chad, what an absolute Chad Mendoza is, and I'm increasingly really like him. Now he's not cheap. He clocks in at a thoroughly pricey 57 points, and really you can make him a little cheaper by taking a heavy shotgun, but I think you absolutely fine that take the multi-rifle. I would never take Mendoza with a shotgun. 57 points is extremely expensive, but he's really a really good tip of the spear. Okay, so this was cute. Mendoza on both profiles has grenades and is Fizz 13. Rather than try and fight the Myrmidian, who also has Pneumatism -6, Mendoza just yanked a grenade over the wall. That's fucking hilarious. You absolute fucking Chad. So yeah, no, this is very cool. And I'm really glad to see this. Actually, this is some cool play, and it sort of showcases this flank run. Like it got stopped in the first turn, which sucks. But this flank run for Mendoza has really just done great stuff. Now, we still have a fully active Marut. We still have a Zayn rebot that did eventually die, to be fair, although it probably shouldn't have. The players didn't do their math correctly, but that's okay. But some really, really good stuff from Mendoza here. Now, just in terms of like what might have made the game go differently, potentially the Sepulchre Knight could have gone into Suppressive Fire and then used Hollow Echo in the States phase to sort of like spread itself out. Suppressive Fire helps it a lot against the Marut, particularly if it's in like maybe this position here, behind this green combi without a long line of fire. Potentially might keep it alive. The Suppressive Fire penalty on the Marut, plus reasonable range bands, plus more dice, had a good chance of potentially wounding the Marut, but at least keeping the Sepulchre Knight up, or only taking 1 wound. Didn't happen, not the end of the world. Well, actually it is the end of the world, it's ruined him, but still. The other thing that sort of wasn't present in this game, but which I'm seeing increasingly in Military Orders lists I like, is the Teuton Harris. By the way, just while I'm talking about this, we've got a Hacker Sergeant moving forward. It looks like she's okay from the Marut, although she won't be for much longer. Oh look, the Lepotos ran forward. So if we just do a quick, I've got the list open. If we pull out the Sepulchre Knight, 56 points, and but we still want an NCO, and we chuck in a Spitfire Teutonic Knight and a Panzerfaust Teutonic Knight. Yeah, okay. So that, like, two Teutons, one Panzerfaust, one Spitfire, clocks in at well less than that clocks in at 50 points. Another, like a 20-point Knight would only set you back sort of 14 over what you've got, which you could get by cutting, I don't know, cutting the trauma dock, for example, and adding in a war core. And we look at this, so the exact same list, just as an example, right? Actually, the trauma dock is quite a good piece, but there is a paramedic in the core. You could also make that a cheaper link by adding in an order sergeant, but the Teutons are faster than the order sergeant by a good margin. There's kind of an argument that HRL, there's no SWC for it in this list, but a HRL order sergeant in a Teuton link is nice, but alternatively just 3 Teutons, 1 Spitfire, 1 Tinbot, and then potentially either a specialist or a light shotgun dude. And in fact, we could have, yeah, okay. So in this link, this list that we're looking at right now, the Sepulchre Knight adds a HMG, and it's a very, very good one, but I don't know if it's that much of a better one than the Tick Balang for like 9 points more. 10 points more? 12 points more? It's a few. But the Tick Balang is massively higher quality. Yeah, hard to say. So turns run out, military orders have moved forward. Mendoza has done really good stuff. Dropped into suppressive fire. We've got a sergeant that's moved forward. Where the hell is I have no idea where the Oxbot. Oxbot's gotten forward as well. This camouflage marker Libertos is elected not to reveal. The link is shot to shreds. So there is a universe in which Mendoza just does not lose a face-to-face roll for the rest of the game, and his positioning is excellent. I'm wrong. It's not excellent. There's a hole in this wall. The Marut can move to this Clanter bed and engage him at well beyond his ability to return fire. I don't know if there are Myrmidians around to... Yep, and there's a Myrmidian here, so it could throw down smoke to do that. Now, he will be able to guts, probably back into total cover, if he survives another face-to-face, another round toe-to-toe with the Marut. But I think at this juncture, the Marut can just leverage her firepower superiority. She's kind of the last big gun standing. Yeah, so there's our line to Mendoza in the distance. Really cool to see Mendoza though. So order pool is diminished for the we're still running an absolutely full bottle pool with the tag. This is a 10 regular order, 2 irregular order list, thanks to the combination of Strategos tactical awareness. And I think what we'll find is that the order left in the second combat group for the Aleph list, it's just Strategos coming over every turn to fill it up. It'll be something like 1 Lamed bot and a Probot and a Warcore or something hanging out in that group, which is fine. Those models can just move up and take zones and do whatever. So yeah, the Myrmidian is moving forward and I expect to see some smoke. Well, there's the attempt. That's a Myrmidian rolling a 19. And he's electing not to try it again. Which, to be frank, pretty reasonable. Like, worth spending an order on, potentially, but you've already got Mendoza at terrible range. You know, you can do what you want. The smoke is icing on the cake, but it is hardly essential to win this face-to-face roll. It's not like Mendoza will have suppressive fire against you. Well, unless you move like this. So my inclination would have been to move the Marut up and around this corner here and engage Mendoza from kind of like maybe this position. And hey, you can kill an Oxbot along the way, which opens up the Libertos to run forward. Moving forward like this lets her engage him more aggressively because he really won't be able to pull back. And it also puts her points in zones that stops him, right? The notable thing about this play that is very much worth considering is that it stops Mendoza dominating this zone. And if Mendoza doesn't dominate this zone, then nothing is in this zone. Aleph dominates this zone, and there's just like one order sergeant maybe in this zone. And if the order sergeant hasn't left a deployment zone, then it's a Libertos versus an Oxbot. So this is an eyes on the prize play. I think that's within 24 inches, but it's a bee's dick either way. From up above, I would say that's in. Yeah, at 21. So we've got suppression fire from Mendoza. So this is an eyes on the prize play. I assume the Maroon's meant to be base contact with this ladder for cover. It looks like, yeah, let's have a look. So fairly good roll there. We've got 110 and 11. The Mendoza firing back. Mendoza's looking for 11s here if the Maroon's not in cover. And she is, cool. Okay, so Mendoza's looking for 8s. So Mendoza crits like he crit last turn. We've got, he does. So, presumably double action. She can die from this. This is continuous damage. I guess he's firing armor-piercing rounds. Oh, of course he's firing armor-piercing rounds. It's suppressive fire. So she's fine. This is a good face-to-face roll. This is 4 dice 12s to 3 dice 8s. Like, it's good for her. She'll get through this eventually. But, yeah, scary moment. And she lands 2 hits on Mendoza. He's got a decent chance of surviving here. Let's see what happens. He takes a wound. Now, he could break suppression, but I don't think he can get far enough back to be safe. Because she'll just move further around. So I think he just holds. I think he holds and hopes to crit her to death. And that's a shit path to victory, right? But it is a path to victory. And there are not enough resources left on the military order side of the table to play conservatively. Mendoza has to win this game, and he has to win this game by killing the Maroon. He's probably not going to, but it is the path, right? This is the way. Yeah, so this fight's going to happen again. And this exchange, this like furious hail of G.I. Joe gunfire, is going to keep happening, I reckon, until, well, Ryan might chicken out, and I wouldn't blame him for for getting the Yardbot forward to repair. But this, like, basically just hold with Mendoza, and roll 3 8s. Let's see it. Come on, Trent. 3 8s. Stay in the game. There's a crit. So, 2 saves. She's fine. Right, it's damage 14, armor piercing. She's in cover. She needs to roll like 8s. Yeah. So now she still. I think she shouldn't have walked away. She still needs to be in this zone, specifically in this zone facing down Mendoza. So he's going to throw some smoke this time. He's sick of losing these face-to-face rolls to crits on 8s. And that's not, like, there are so many orders, right? You can, now that I've seen what Ryan is doing, and specifically that he's trying to secure this face-to-face roll the hard way, like he's just to win it, just win the face-to-face roll. Spending a couple orders to like maybe get some smoke done on this car, and then the Marut through the smoke, and then now you're like to neg 12 Mendoza. I don't hate that. He's actually moved into Mendoza's line of fire, but Mendoza's suppressing fire. He's not going to break it. So let's roll. Let's watch the Myrmidian do what Myrmidians do and roll like a 20 to throw the smoke grenade. Oh, we're hanging. He lands it. Okay. Now, an interesting thing to note, right, is that although from where I'm sitting, Mendoza, like the path to victory for the Aleph player is for Mendoza to crit the Marut to death, which is a poor path to victory, but it is a path to victory. The Aleph have many options, and they have options because their resources are mostly intact, right? Look at this order pool. And Posthumans and the Dakini are viable, and the Myrmidian are viable offensive options. So we're going to have a face-to-face roll here with the Marut. I think there's a good chance it's beyond 24. So Mendoza might be in a position now where unfortunately he has to dodge, But I don't know. I mean, I might just take the shot anyway. Yeah, because it was about, they're just talking about ranges now. Mendoza was firing about 20 to 21 inch shot to this bit here. Yeah, so I think he has to give up suppressive. So Mendoza will be dodging on like a 16, but and a 14 is good. And yeah, no, he makes it. But what the Marut has done is like she's guaranteed that there are no face-to-face rolls coming back. Now I don't think Mendoza can get out of line of fire. I don't think if he goes all the way back, he's safe. Yep, so he's okay. I'll just zoom into this position here. One question is, can Mendoza move over these boxes with his dodge movement? The answer is, if he could vault them, yes. But as we zoom in here, we can see that he's actually very, very slightly less tall. So he can't. He could vault, for example, onto or over these military supply crates, these radioactive military supplies. He could move over those with a dodge movement, but he can't move over these green crates because they're taller than he is. So, a bit of measurement to see where he can reach. Yeah, it's too far to cover. So I reckon he's probably just pruning up back here, and it's not going to save him. Now, the Marut is probably going to follow through, and she's going to try and get the kill. And this is a Marut in a zero-vis zone, but she's not in cover. And yeah, no, he's not. He's not at a line of fire, even as far back as he can go. So, there's a real question here, and I honest to God think that if that Marut blitzed at me again, I would just YOLO that, take the -9, try and crit on double action round on a 5, and just kill the damn thing. That's like a 1% play, but it's a 1% to keep yourself in the game. I'm actually, yeah, I'm this like defensive positioning though, the use of Mendoza, really cool to see. He'll be going on the thumbnail. Alright, Marut's moving up again. Alright. 7 plays. Yeah, nice. Succeeds his dodge again. Now again, like this, Mendoza's getting pretty lucky, but there are enough orders left in this pool for the Marut to execute the kill. So he can't get out of there, but he can just try and not die. It is not impossible that he survives 6 more orders. It's unlikely, but it's not impossible. And it's very good for him if he survives that. So just a bit of consideration here, where Trent's trying to decide where he should dodge to, but the answer is there is nowhere, and there is unfortunately nowhere. And he's looking for it, like he's really looking for some place that he can get to, but he can't vault these supplies, and 3 inches this direction will just result in him getting shot to death from out of cover. The play at this point is to jank a crit on a 4 for a 5, or just hard like dodge for multiple turns. So yeah, we got the Marut moving up to cover again. And yeah, for visibility, she shouldn't really be doing this. She should have stayed in cover next turn. I think she was trying to make a run towards this console and to ditch out her Karkata remote, but it's not going to change things too much. So two 10s there versus a 16. No, shots land. So it'll be 2 saves, and down he goes. Actually, all the way to dead. So he's down, and with Mendoza's death, I think end the hope of the military orders, because at this point there just aren't enough models, right? Actually, I don't think. Yeah, no, there's no retreat. No, so there are not enough casualties to have inflicted retreat. There's still a probot, Crozier paramedic, Crozier combi. We know this is actually a knight commander. There's a hacker back here. There's enough left. There's probably enough left. There's probably enough left that this is not retreat for the military orders player. But, yeah, The path clear was Mendoza really just getting very, very, very lucky, and he didn't. So there are only a small number of orders left, but I suspect what Ryan will be doing here is just moving up to control zones. Does not actually need to control that many, right? Like he can control 2 to 1, and that's totally fine. And he'll probably be looking to push some buttons. He is the second player here. He's leveraging his advantage reasonably well. But yeah, and he's just moved up to get a line of fire on this little lock spot. And he's probably going to kill it. Now, while he's looking at that, I'm going to go and do some math, because we want to see how close are we to retreat. Let's have a look. Oh, it is very close. But yeah, he would have to kill like one more piece, basically. If he killed this escort sergeant, he won't. Killing the Oxbot won't do it. Oxbot's too little. But with this Oxbot dead, the military orders player will be at about 80 points worth of stuff left on the board. Now, Ryan can't 100% know that because he doesn't know exactly what the Knight Commander is here. But the little Oxbot that could. Yeah, so the Marut's just moving forward. So yeah, perilously close to retreat, but being perilously close to retreat means that even if the Marut got possessed, it doesn't matter. Just don't, for fuck's sake, Ryan, don't spend this command token. I can see the irregular order on the Libertos. The only thing that Ryan could do that would be the absolutely wrong play right now is to spend a command token to convert this irregular order regular. Because if he does that, on his third turn, he can't depossess the Marut if she gets possessed. Now, she probably won't, right? Like, the Order Sergeant would have to, like, YOLO into this fog zone, into this jungle zone, and then further through. The odds against it are stratospherically low, but, yeah. Just don't spend that last command token. Now, the other thing is that the Oxbot's trying to, like, get forward, and there's kind of a chance, yeah, that he would... Okay. Remember that you stop when you contact the terrain there. Yeah, Ryan's remember that, good. He's looking for a flamethrower hit that catches both of these, but, oh, it's just popped in. It is very nice terrain, but, like, I can't see fucking shit when they put that in. Just getting my video deflagged from, deflagged for children there. Just gonna zoom down to this lovely vegetative zone. Another face-to-face roll. The little dude's failed his roll. Marut's whiffed everything, because that's within 16. It's not a double crit. Ryan, do not spend this command token. Don't do it, Ryan. Don't do it, Ryan. Okay, alright. Ryan, if you watch this, I'm disappointed in you. I mean, he's probably fine. Realistically, he's probably fine. And the reason why he's probably fine is that the amount of effort this escort sergeant would need to expend to get in on the Marut. Okay, alright. This is fine. So the Marut is pulling back with this order. That's not as bad, because it's even more distance between her and the Order Sergeant. And we actually know that the Order Sergeant, yeah, there's 5 orders left in this pool. And so distance between her and the Order Sergeant means that it's less and less likely to get the hack off. Now, if it was going to try with 5 orders, it would have to run, so 1, 2, it's very difficult. I think it's actually possible, but it would involve running through some open ground. Alright, well, let's see. So this time she tees up 3 times on the Oxborn, and it probably dies. I think he's done his math wrong, but that's alright. Yeah, it dead. That's okay. That puts the order, by my math, that puts the military orders force at sitting tight on 80 points, which is very, very, very close to retreat, but not in retreat. Yeah, so final military orders turn beginning, and they should have something like 5 regular and 2 lieutenant orders. Oh, and we're just doing a quick check. That order sergeant is less than half in the zone, but it's pretty close. But it still doesn't really matter. It's this Dakini has moved forward into this zone, the Marut, and God knows what else is in this zone. And so even if military orders contests this zone, hope you can see the mouse moving there, there's nothing in this far zone. So once again, it's 2 zones to 1. So the score is a pretty comfortable lead for Aleph right now. So we've got movement on the station as the word's got around. We've got a Blitzen. No, the combi, the paramedic. Please move the Blitzen. So this is something from last turn. When the link, this is something you always want to remember when your links are activating, is the blessing and curse of a link activating is that you get to move everything else as well. Now, in this particular case, we have a prone Crozier combi Blitzen. A lot of the time when your link is activating, what you're worried about is that you do not want your troopers to be exposing themselves to fire or ending up in indefensible positions where they'll just get shot next turn if you stop activating the link. But in this case, this Crozier could have been moving around. There were like many orders spent on this link where this Crozier could have moved and moved and moved, right? Move standing, move prone, move standing, move prone, whatever. And if she had done so, she might have gotten up to this position here behind the original Crozier with Blitzen. And if she'd done that, she'd have a shot this turn on the Marut with her Blitzen. Now, that doesn't necessarily win you the game, may not even change things, but it is a shot against the Marut in the open. And he hasn't got that shot. So this is something that he could have considered. Now, not likely to have changed the game significantly or at all, but just sort of bear this in mind. When you activate a link, don't just go to the ballistic skill attack, right? Think about what your other movement with the link is doing. Think about what you can optimize. This is a very small optimization. Hasn't mattered. Like, it really won't matter in this case. But it was an opportunity. Now, as it is, what he's doing is the Cruiser is running forward. Hasn't even bothered trying to heal the Blackfriar. Don't blame him. He's just popping a button, right? And this is the play at this juncture. I think quite reasonably, right? Our military orders players recognize that the game is not won. The game is lost conclusively. The tiebreaker for events after tournament points is objective points. Get your runs on the board. It's pretty unlikely that this button will be pressable by Aleph. It's not impossible. There are a lot of orders on the Aleph side, but it's pretty likely that this console won't be pressed. So this is like a point. This gets you a point. The Aleph HVT is also here. So she can feasibly run up to like this nook here to secure the HVT. Not a lot. It's not a lot at all, but it's some points. And yeah, so there's basically a few orders left. There's some looking here, basically what this escort sergeant might do, and I think the answer is not a lot, but hey, we will see. Can you believe I've gotten this entire episode without making a joke about how there's a wild Libertos in the tall grass? Just putting that one out there. Yep. So the Order Sergeant Lieutenant is moving forward prone, and I think what's actually happening is that the players are playing the grass as blocking line of fire. So a prone model can move through. I actually don't hate that. I don't know if it was clarified. There are often terrain notes on these maps, but they look like they've been disappeared. And when we mouse over the forest, we can see difficult terrain jungle, low visibility -3, saturation zone -1 burst, treetops block line of fire. So we know the treetops block line of fire. My reading would be, therefore, that the rest of it, the tree trunks and the grass doesn't. But I don't hate playing it as if it does, right? Standing model, obviously visible. Prone model, not visible. Crawling through the grass. That's kind of cool. Like, I don't hate that. It's not how I would play it, but I don't hate it. I like it. So, fair enough. Talk to your opponents, as always, about that. I think it closes the map up maybe a little more than is intended. Like, the map's very open on some axes. There are a lot of fire lanes on this map, but I don't think you're meant to be able to crawl forward and be forever free here. But hey, whatever. So yeah, we've just got this Order Sergeant just crawling forward, and again, making a play for the console. Not going to win the game. This is triage. This is trying to get points on the board. I like it. This is a sensible play by someone who is pretty much SOL on the game itself. And this will be 2 dice on 16s. And she gets it. So that's the last order. So at this point, we've got the Aleph player final turn, because Ryan did go last. And as far as I can tell, there were no casualties that turn. So this order pool, this stonking big order pool, will persist. There are a few options, but there is really no particular need to prosecute an attack here. Ryan, in an event, would be looking to score 10 points. He'll score 2 of them just by bombing the Marut into a zone. Doesn't really matter where. Probably... I'm thinking he probably moves the Marut around the hacker. Around maybe to something like here. Which coincidentally will let you shoot the enemy hacker, which is good. But yeah, bomb out this zone to take it, right? Like 90-something points, whatever a Marut costs. A Marut costs 99 points in the Lieutenant Strategos version. So yeah, bomb the Marut into this zone, or whatever, maybe kill this paramedic, maybe not. That'll put you on a tasty 8 objective points, and then... or 9, rather, I should say. Because he's... well, actually, so he'll want to press this console, which he hasn't done yet. This console's been activated, so yeah, Marut, bomb forward, the camouflage marker, which we know is a hacker post-human, vault down onto the dumpster, off the dumpster onto the console, press the console, and then basically have the Marut with any orders you've got left, kill this Crozier, run up and drop the Carcatter out. There's a Knight Commander there that he'll have to fight, but yeah. So let's see. That's what I would do, but there are a number of plays open, and really all that has to happen at this juncture is he's looking to push this point as high as he can. Right now the score is 6-2. If Ryan does nothing, he will still end the game with a major win, because he scored more than 5 or more objective points, and he has won. So yeah, let's we'll fast forward through this. I'll resume at a couple of points just to know what's happening, but this is in the bag for Aleph one way or the other. Alright, jumping back in with a quick recap. The work has actually been done by this post-human. Pretty much everything. So she's spent a chunk of the orders of this turn. She's jumped down here onto the dumpster, off the dumpster. She's pushed this button. She's coming around this flank. The Myrmidian tried first and failed to dislodge the Order Sergeant. And so the post-human came in and I think carbonated her and then double shotgunned her and pressed this button. Which will leave... That'll put Ryan on max points, right? That'll put console, all in control of Aleph, and again, this zone, all in control of Aleph, and the classified is done. So you can't score more than 4 in Supremacy. You can't score more than 3 consoles. So that's a 10-1. No reason not to try and this one. So that's 10-1 to Aleph. Now, not to put too fine a point on it, this map is considerably favorable to the Marut. So Trent, if you get this far into the video and you're sort of wondering what could have done differently, these forests, this list of Ryan has been built to take advantage of this forest and other forests in this terrain. Personally, this is just kind of my riff. I don't put terrain in tournament tables kind of for this reason. Visors are good on troops before terrain comes into play. In this kind of a table where there is pretty widespread saturation and viz mods, visors become oppressive. And I feel like that's maybe something that people don't realize or haven't played on. Quite often, you hear those cheeky stories where like the Varuna player says, "Oh, do you want to play those trees as low vis?" Oh yeah, that seems cool. And then a Kamau sniper drops down, and you're like, "I've been fucking had." And that's why, right? It just a list that is built to take advantage of visibility zones is often a good list already, right? Like Bakunin, Riot Girls, they are shit hot. The Marut, incredible. Kahu, Bagmarie, MSV, Cherontid, even with Plasma, right, fighting at short range. There are so many outstanding MSV troops in the game. Nikul's Sniper, right? Like imagine a Nikul Sniper just hanging out in this forest. Good fucking luck, right? Unless you're packing a Marut, or like Kahu, or an Aquila Guard, or right, those there are good MSV model. Riot Girl, Link, right? There are very very good MSV troops in the game who go from very good to oppressive when terrain is present. So at least in this particular case, every team has had full visibility of their maps for like a month in advance of the lists being locked in. So if teams haven't built to take advantage of the terrain, then that's on them. And I suspect they have, to be frank. So like it is what it is. But this is a really good example of why in a regular tournament, I would be pretty hesitant. And I have experimented with, right? I've tried putting visibility zones, low, poor, and zero on tables, and it blows the game out. Or it does nothing. And if it's either doing nothing or blowing the game out. If it's doing nothing, why have it, right? Keep it simple. And if it's blowing the game out, why have it? It's blowing the game out. There's very rarely a middle game where it presents an interesting choice. Because it's just a modifier. It's just a modifier. Saturation zones are much less offensive, but visibility zones are by far the worst. So, hey, it is what it is. That's my take. I sound like another Antipodean YouTube when I say that, but that's all right. Hope you've enjoyed this. There might be some more coming. Time zones have made it really challenging to get games recorded. This has obviously been the first one for a little while, but I enjoy recording these. They might be intermittent. Maybe they're once a month. Maybe they're every 6 weeks. But I'll put them up when I get a chance because they're quite fun to do. So, yeah, that's it. End the video.